Killing Moon started off as a new music blog. I forget when it started off as a new music blog. It was maybe like end of 2010, 2011. It was in a bit of a limbo state at that point. But that was off the back of I'd worked at different major labels, a management company as well up until that point, and I found it inherently frustrating that whenever you find a new artist that you're really, really excited about, you're just not allowed to talk about them. So I had all these sort of like pent-up angst, all these bands that I wanted to talk about, so just talked about them. And just that, and I guess it became sort of perceived as like an A&R resource to a lot of people. Suddenly had contact from like people like booking agents, lawyers, a lot of A&Rs, managers, that sort of thing. Wanting to find out more about the artists that I was just like writing about. We started doing live nights at the Bull and Gates, and that was a curation with a brand called Club Fandango. They're the promotions arm of Fierce Panda, so had a lot of fun doing that, and suddenly you can take these bands from the blog and put them onto a live context. I had worked at labels before, but had absolutely no idea how to release a record, which is hilarious, isn't it? And I think actually I find that's the case still to this day when you're talking to people of different disciplines, whether they're an A&R or some other capacity. I guess a large part of what we do is we're engaged in more or less every developing artist. So when it comes to putting out record releases for them and getting a campaign going, so say they've got the music ready and everything's kind of ready to go, the various assets involved in a record campaign, we then sort of consult on that and try and identify where our friends are in the wider world of the music industry, who's going to help us prop this up. Can we put them in touch with we've obviously got a bit of an elaborate live operation going through our thing, so can we plug them into that? It's not so much shrouding it in indie cred, but sort of just navigating it in the right way and bringing on board people who are in it for the right reasons. We're trying to identify people who love the music for its own sake rather than who's propping it up. Yeah, Killing Moon is the song is called Under a Killing Moon. It's the second track on an album called The Artist in the Ambulance by a band called Thrice. For me, that song means trying not to give a fuck what anyone else thinks of you. So I think that's quite rife in this line of work. Like if you're trying to do something, or start a label, for example, a lot of people just don't, because they're worried that it won't be a success in the perception of other people's eyes. And the hardest thing to do to get going is to stop caring what other people think, and that's applicable to an artist as well, I suppose. Like like an artist cares about what music they're writing, I very deeply care about what records we're putting out as a label. So there is that sort of like emotional attachment for me. Well, I was in a band when I was at uni. Actually, I was in several bands at the time. I'm a pretty solid drummer. I still play occasionally. So I'd always wanted to work at a record label. I think I knew that when I was maybe 11 years old. I remember we were doing some sort of like careers thing in primary school, like what I want to be when I grow up, and I wrote down talent scout at a record label, except I didn't have a clue about how to go about it, so I didn't really go around telling many people that, because I kind of saw it as like, I want to be a rock star, or I want to be an actor, or something like that. So when I was in my third year of university, I started just doing as much stuff as I possibly could. I started DJing at a venue called the Barfly and at Ulu, and then I started interning at a record label. I just saw an advert on a forum for a website called Punktastic for one of my favourite record labels called Vagrant. My favourite band is called Alkaline Trio. They're on that label. A few others like Get Up Kids and whatnot were on that label as well. So they put up the advert, I replied to it, and then I started interning there one day a week. It's part of a larger company called Full Time Hobby, which is still one of my favourite indie labels. And then it kind of went from there. I figured out I needed to go and get a job at some point, so then I ended up working at Mercury. Then I went to law school. I did a law degree at uni, and then I started working at Quest Management after that. Then decided to start my own thing. Then there's an artist called Rogue who's doing very well. He's very much, sort of what I would say is on the artist route. So he goes around DJing around the world. He's doing pretty well. He's got his first London show coming up. Little plug there. And who else have we taken on recently? There's a new artist called Remy Miles who we're extremely excited about. He's an American living in Brighton. And this is probably the first. When I take on an artist for management, we usually put them through like a rigorous sort of period of development. So everything's on total lockdown. We want to get everything right by the time that the world becomes aware of this. So there are no shortfalls. There's nothing to try and that you have to excuse. Like say, for example, you put them in a live show and not everything's up to scratch. You don't really want to be left like in that position where you're saying like, oh, but it could be better the next time you come and see it. It has to be perfect. Hello, my name is Achal Dhillon. I'm the managing director of Killing Moon. Tap in.